Lawmakers made a special program to get more New Mexicans voluntarily paying for solar panel projects without putting those panels on their home or apartment. Now, years later, dozens of those community solar farms are coming online.
News 13's Michael Meade explains how it works and how much New Mexicans can save on their electric bills.
Nearly 5 years after being signed into law, the New Mexico Community Solar Act is rolling out, with almost 50 new solar farms going live next year for El Paso Electric, Xcel Energy, and PNM customers.
The goal of the program is to really open up those benefits to customers that couldn't install traditional solar. So, for example, folks that live in apartment buildings, or maybe they're renters.
To take part, customers pay a monthly fee to a solar subscription company, and that fee gets deducted from your power bill. The New Mexico PRC says that deduction will always result in savings. But low-income subscribers are eligible to save up to 3 times more.
If you qualify for that, then you should expect to see something like 15 to 28% savings in your electricity costs over the course of the year.
The state hopes these community solar farms will rope in as many as 35,000, or roughly 10% of the state's low-income households. But it's not just for low-income customers. Other home and business customers, along with schools, churches, and nonprofits, can take part and save about 7% a year on their energy bill.
The easiest way to save on electricity, you're not switching providers. It's an easy way to help other income qualified homes. It makes a ton of local jobs.
Troy McGee is helping connect customers to the newer state-endorsed program and says there's no risk of potentially paying more.
There's been a lot of scammy sales in solar and industry, so there's a lack of trust. But I think people, when they know that we're local and they talk with us, they quickly begin to trust us.
Michaela DePauli, KRQE, News 13.
So far, the PRC says 3 community solar farms are live, but 10 are expected to be ready by the end of this year.
6 months ago, actually, that news feature. So there's been a lot of new community solar farms that have come live since then. And Troy McGee, who was featured there, he's one of our partners on the ground supporting enrollments for the program. So yes, at its core, community solar is designed to connect New Mexicans to clean energy without having to install equipment themselves. So essentially, a utility customer in a participating grid zone, being PNM, El Paso Electric, or Xcel Energy, gets their energy credit from a community solar farm's energy production. And the credit on their electric bill for that energy from the solar farm gets discounted. It's a 28% discount for households that are income qualified, and it's a 10% discount for commercial accounts. So statewide, the program approved 200 megawatts of development, and that is what has resulted in, currently something like 13 projects statewide that are live. So this is a little illustration of the ecosystem. This is a question I commonly get in this field of discussion around community solar. Like, who are all these people? Can you just make it simple for us? Like, why does it have to be so complicated? So the program was established through a Senate bill that was passed in 2021, SB 84. That Senate bill being passed led to the Public Regulation Commission establishing the rule book, basically creating the rules for how community solar would work. And they have all of that information on how the rules were developed on the PRC website, which is a great resource on a kind of, from a government perspective, how to understand all of the facts and evolution of the program. Then the PRC designated a program administrator that basically regulates utility consumer protections and also utilities following the program rules. And this is a place where consumers can come and learn about the program, and they can also, for example, find a provider. Like who are organizations that manage the community solar projects that get, onboarded with the program. So here we are, Solstice. Of any of the providers listed, we're the only one with capacity shown in El Paso Electric. So Solstice is the only provider for folks to connect with the community solar program in El Paso Electric as it is. And this page also has information about how folks can save with community solar, essentially how the bill credits work, things like that. So again, a great resource. I'm able to connect folks with if they need that, but that's csnewmexico.com. Then Incline, the program administrator, played its own role in supporting the rollout of the solar farms. So every developer that was approved to build a solar farm for this program had to follow certain rules and regulations. They had to meet certain standards about workforce development and resource procurement, and also meet the interconnection needs of utilities. So if it's upgrading transformers or utility lines, etc., each of those solar farms had to meet those standards in order to continue to be designated as a community solar project that could then transmit energy through the grid. So as I mentioned, the participating utilities are El Paso Electric, PNM, SPS. These have their own community solar page. El Paso Electric's community solar page actually just redirects to the New Mexico program page. So it'll again give you that information. PNM does have their own designated community solar page, which gives a little bit more information for utility customers, how that all works, which can be helpful. And then finally, the organization that connects utility customers to actually enroll on these solar farms. So the utility company is not actually able to go out and connect folks to the community solar farm directly. They have to go through an enrollment administrator. And each of these solar farms, or the developers, partnered with an enrollment administrator like Solstice to connect utility customers, give them the virtual infrastructure to complete their enrollment, connect their utility account to a solar farm. Any questions around that? So yeah, pretty straightforward. The enrollment process we will go over, but it is pretty simple creating an account on the platform, uploading utility information, and then completing some agreement docs. This is an explanation of how the savings actually work for community solar. So on a El Paso Electric bill, you would see all of the charges associated with utility service. Many of those charges are not discounted under community solar participation. The energy charge is what community solar is actually addressing. So in this case, the community solar bill credit, which shows up at the bottom of an El Paso Electric bill, ends up showing the name of the community solar farm. It ends up showing the amount of energy that's being derived from the solar farm on that given month, and the credit rate of what that energy is being derived at to create and deliver the bill credit. So that's a subtraction from the El Paso Electric bill, in this case of $1,040. There's an administrative fee that El Paso Electric charges on that energy from the community solar program, and that is shown at the fee that they give as well. Basically, that's the charge that El Paso Electric charges to do the paperwork of applying these credits on the bill. So ultimately, those bill credits are what are discounted, and that's a 10% discount. So in this case, $104 is discounted. Ultimately, when you take the savings there minus the administrative cost, gives us the overall savings on the utility bill in that given month. So that's the basics of how savings are applied with community solar in a dual build configuration. There is currently discussion about consolidating utility bills for community solar. That's happening at the level of the PRC, and we're very hopeful that that's going to happen soon, within the next few years at least, as many other states have adopted consolidated billing. But at this state, this is how community solar billing takes place, as a dual billing program. So these are some good to know things. Why two documents? I just kind of was speaking to that. In the case that net crediting would be adopted for the state program, the community solar discount would be applied directly on the El Paso electric bill. It makes things a lot easier for the utility customer. It also enables, particularly when we're talking about low-income households, it enables more homes or utility customers to actually access the program, because there are folks that, for example, they might be on budget billing, or they end up having past due balances. Those can end up being blockers that might not allow folks to actually continue participation in the community solar program. Or, for example, folks that pay their utility bill by going down to the gas station and submitting like a cashier's check. Those, when we have net crediting, that would enable those folks to take greater advantage of the program. So there is a petition currently up, if anybody would like to sign that, for net crediting in the state. Happy to pass that on. These are some frequently asked questions. Why doesn't everybody get the discount automatically? So the state approved a deliberately small amount for the initial phase of the program, ultimately to prove that it works in New Mexico. So that means that there's not enough community solar capacity to offer it to every utility customer. It is opt-in only. So, utility customers that give consent, that, willingly enter the program, are going to get access to the benefits of the bill credit and discounts. And again, reiterating what I had mentioned earlier, utilities don't complete the enrollment themselves for utility customers. For community solar, the enrollment happens through an organization like Solstice that's partnered with the community solar farm developer. The enrollment is really simple. As I mentioned, create an account, upload the utility bill, add a payment method that covers that Solstice bill, and complete the agreement and the consent documents. That can take 5 minutes for folks. It can be very simple, and I strive to make it that simple for folks that I'm working with directly. Right now, we are working with an enrollment deadline of June 30th. So that is a window coming up within the next 2 weeks that we're pushing to get as many folks, on board as we can before the administration office goes into a summer hiatus. So just means anybody who is interested, reach out immediately. Let's get you signed up and get all of these enrollment steps completed so that we can activate the bill credits and the discount for you for the next billing cycle. This is something that ends up actually coming to the very end of the conversation or even priority list for most folks that I talk with. But why, again, does the state promote a program like this from a Senate level, a Senate bill level? Part of it is the state of New Mexico has an Energy Transition Act. It's a legislative document that states the goals around climate resilience that the state has aligned with. And so community solar, of course, is bringing clean energy to the grid. Clean energy, of course, is an alternative to fossil fuel derived energy generation. In New Mexico, that's a big deal, and particularly around the El Paso electric area. For example, in relation to the Project Jupiter, which has been very controversial in the area around water usage, This is a proposed data center that would be powered by natural gas generation turbines, which would end up using around 1 million gallons of water per day, as was projected from the state engineer. And that was from an article in the New Mexican recently. So also in El Paso Electric, almost 75% of energy of the entire grid generation is derived from natural gas turbines. And that's probably in one of the most like solar productive regions of the United States. So definitely a lot of potential to bring more solar into the grid. Community solar does that. Community solar adds clean, water-free energy generation directly to the grid. So definitely an important piece of the puzzle in having a sustainability lens on development around Doñana County. So the basics there we covered. As I mentioned, enrollment deadline is June 30th. Would love to get anybody who's interested on board so we can support you all to take advantage of the financial benefits of community solar, and of course being part of the solution for environmental stewardship and sustainability. Here's a little testimonial from Brian Whitehour. He's the owner of Icebox Brewing, which has several facilities around Las Cruces area. He said, with the huge capital investment needed for solar panel equipment, we were very happy to hear about the community solar program and how it can benefit our business. Not only are we now saving money, but we are doing our part to utilize renewable and clean energy sources. Michael made the process of enrollment easy and has been able to answer any and all questions we had since we began with the program. So Brian's been very nice and generous. He's offered any folks I'm talking with that want a direct line, a reference to another business owner who's gone through the process of enrollment and is already in seeing their community solar bill credits and discounts each month. He says, send them on to me. Feel free to have them call me. I'm happy to talk them through what my experience is. So that again is an extension I would offer anybody viewing this webinar. Feel free to reach out. I'm happy to connect you to Brian. He's a great guy. And we hosted a workshop at the Icebox Brewing Cantina at the beginning of May in collaboration with the City of Las Cruces Economic Development Office. So I wanted to just finish first with showing a geographical kind of highlight of the location of the community solar farms in Doñana County. We have one just north of Las Cruces here. It's called SLT Las Cruces, and one a little farther up, just north of Hatch. And these are local solar projects utilizing local workforce. It's definitely been a boon to the economy in many ways throughout the state, and for the environmental stewardship reasons I highlighted earlier as well. Going to finish with a little video from the City of Las Cruces. Jenny Hernandez, we enrolled about 150 properties from the city, and Jenny has been a big supporter and promoter of the program throughout that area.
Yeah, my name is Jenny Hernandez. I'm the Sustainability Officer for the City of Las Cruces. Back in 2018, we brought on some consultants and worked with the community to create a climate action plan to just create a more resilient city and community, especially around some of the extreme weather events that Las Cruces has, like extreme heat. To get where we have to be innovative and think outside the box. So we are super excited about programs like these. While I would love for all of our buildings to have solar, that's not really realistic or feasible for some of our city buildings for several reasons. This program really allows the city to access clean renewable energy at a very affordable price, right? Without having to worry about the installation costs or maintenance costs or issues that sometimes we come across with some of our older solar that we've already installed. The savings that we get back and we are reducing cost in our utility bills. Historically, it's sometimes hard for all of us as a municipality municipality to really track and hone in on our electric bills. But this is going to really help us in terms of like now we have some kind of incentive to make sure that we are monitoring those more closely so we can see those savings from community solar. And again, it really has changed the game for how we in municipality think about how we can meet our climate action goals around renewable energy.